Guy Ritchie continues to drum up interest in his new series. Netflix's Gentleman is just 1 week away from release, so the other day they rolled out a second trailer, giving us a little more detail about the plot, described the plot, but most importantly made it clear that behind the project is the same Ritchie. Although there are a lot of references to the original Gentleman, we can see that the project is trying not to parasitize on him, but to find a new way. Today we will analyze what interesting showed in the trailer, why the series is one of the most expected this year, and what critics think about it, who have already watched half of the season. Make yourself comfortable, it will be interesting. You can see that Guy Ritchie has made a good tradition for himself. Since 2019, the British director has released a new movie almost every year. Of course, he is better known for his dynamic style, fast editing, and special sense of humor, so he tries to bring all this, even in adaptations of classic characters like Sherlock Holmes, King Arthur, and Aladdin. However, many fans have begun to notice that Ritchie has recently moved away from his own directing style. We're talking about the gritty crime thriller The Wrath of Man and the war thriller The Interpreter, which are different from the director's usual works. But his next film, Ministry of Ungentlemanly Affairs, seems to be a mixture of the familiar approach with a historical bent. And before Cavell and company make it to theaters, the director has prepackaged Gentleman, which many have high hopes for. It has to be said that this isn't the first time a Ritchie movie has been adapted into a series format. His legendary film Cards, Money to Guns was transferred to small screens in the early '90s, and no less iconic Big Kush was turned into a series of the same name in 2017. However, both projects were created without the participation of the director himself, so in Gentleman from Netflix, Ritchie for the first time himself became the head of the series. The question arises, will we see his artistic flair and signature style on the small screen? So far, I'm getting a positive impression. As we know, Gentleman has a star-studded cast: McConaughey, Grant, Hannum, and Farrell. Each of them played colorful, memorable characters that fans would love to see again. One would assume that a series with a Netflix-level budget could afford to bring any actor back to their role for at least one episode. However, in this case, a familiar character would be 100% likely to be shown in the trailer to excite fans. But since this did not happen, the series will start from scratch, using only the plot aspects of the original, which means no star-studded cast is likely to be expected. Rather than being a direct continuation or retelling of the original movie, Ritchie is using the series to tell a new story. While this may seem a little disappointing to fans at first, after watching the second trailer, there is a sense that the series will be just as good as its predecessor. Now we've been given a little more detail about the plot twist. The series will begin with Eddie Halstead being discharged from military service and being told that his wealthy father has died. Apparently, after the death of the head of the family, his place was to be taken by Eddie's older brother Freddie, and at the same time inherit the vast family estate. But judging by the trailer, that's not exactly what happens. Instead, Eddie becomes his father's true heir, because his older brother is not known for his good behavior, but not for his fabulous wealth. Eddie has to take care of the meager finances, which is no way to call it an inheritance. To top it all off, the two brothers quickly learn that their father made most of the family fortune from the marijuana empire operating under the estate. It's a proven scheme we know about from the original movie. But in the series, the business is run by the shrewd and mysterious Susie Glowes, while her father serves time in prison. Against the interests of his family, Eddie forms a partnership with Susie to keep their estate, and then it gradually becomes more and more corrupted by the underworld. The only question is, to what extent can he become corrupt? It is known that some critics have already managed to watch the series almost in its entirety. Of course, no one is allowed to reveal plot details, but knowing Ritchie's earlier works, we should be prepared for unexpected twists and turns. It is noted that each of the 8 episodes of Gentleman lasts from 40 minutes to 1 hour, and such duration is almost not felt primarily because the rapid pace of Ritchie's narration acts here in full force. Some even believe that this is one of the reasons why the series will be more successful than the movie. In favor of this is also the fact that the original provides a vast cast of characters with several storylines. They often go in tandem or crosspots with each other in the most unexpected places, with the plot sometimes being a bit confusing, perhaps due to the economy of screen time. The series, on the other hand, presents a very different picture in this regard. Such a format, the authors use to the full and at the same time do not waste time on twaddle. Part of those who watched it already call it one of the best series. And most importantly, all this under the authorship of Guy Ritchie. With these assessments, wants to immediately agree. But these are critics, and you and I have repeatedly observed the opposite picture. Therefore, it is better to wait for the release and see for yourself. It is noted that the series has a clear central line, but the narrative is also interwoven with a lot of interesting offshoots. And although the final no one has not yet seen, we can assume that it will be explosive, because it will connect everything into one. It is said that, in the course of viewing, we'll have to constantly ask the question, who exactly can be trusted and who is the true hero of the story, if there even is one? Because all the characters are confused in their actions. We have already noted that the level of bloodiness was quite high from the first trailer. The release of the second trailer only confirmed it. And so we should not worry that the series will lower the degree of cruelty. True, not all episodes keep the same dynamics. The first two, which were filmed by Ritchie himself, serve as a basic production, so they develop relatively unhurriedly. But in the following episodes, Eddie and Susie's paths cross with different characters, as the trailer clearly demonstrates, showing us the diverse characters. And a lot of action is centered in these moments. A separate topic is the issue of violence in the series. In the original, Gentleman really has a fair share of unhealthy behavior of characters. Some situations in which they find themselves are a mixture of black humor on the edge of the folly. Think of that episode with the pig. But it's what's so integral to Ritchie's style that makes him recognizable. In addition, most of the characters are presented as morally gray, but these situations and their motivations allow you to become attached to them and worry about their fate. The series promises to multiply all this by 2 because Guy Ritchie and his team have done a great job. They also note the confident game of Theo James, although he became famous thanks to Divergent, but further played dramatic characters, largely following the path of Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart. After Twilight, James got a very charismatic and versatile hero, who is called a worthy successor to McConaughey in this franchise. They also emphasize Kaya as Susie, who created an unpredictable character with a habit of never revealing her true intentions. Obviously, she is Eddie's love interest, but where this will eventually lead is not known. She can easily turn out to be both the main antagonist and the anti-hero, who will make the decisive choice at the end. The trailer also showed us a little more of Eddie's brother. At first glance, he seems extremely frivolous and perhaps not pleasant, and scenes with him are needed to bring a portion of chaos. However, it is said that the scriptwriters are very skillful in using him to make him vital to the story. Meanwhile, Giancarlo Esposito excels perfectly as the most corrupt character in Gentleman. Although he doesn't have as much screen time as the other characters, he steals literally every moment. And of course, a special mention goes to the legendary Vinnie Jones, who plays Jeff, the estate's loyal turncoat. His character turned out to be one of the most colorful and not ordinary in the whole series, and it is worth a lot, considering what scenes were shown in the trailer. Jones plays a character with a sharp character and killing power, and this is the true heart of the series. Despite most of the characters stepping onto an increasingly darker path, Jeff's storyline is based more on the opposite effect. So to summarize, I'd like to say that the original idea of continuing Gentleman in a TV series format was very controversial. The presence of Guy Ritchie in the project certainly smoothed the edges, but we were talking about completely different characters, which have only an indirect connection with the original characters. And shooting under the direction of Netflix caused certain fears, because we know very well what they can be a pain. However, now the series Gentleman seems to be a worthy successor, which takes all the best from the movie and multiplies it. And the first evaluations of critics only confirm that the project turned out to be worthwhile. In any case, very soon we will be able to see for ourselves. Gentleman will be fully available on Netflix starting March 7th, which means we don't have long to wait. Be sure to write whether the second trailer made you look forward to the series, and whether it can outsell the original Gentleman and thus get a second season. Share your thoughts in the comments. But that's it for today, friends.